What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video, and we're back with another showcase video, this time covering a fan favorite Sugofest exclusive, Douglas Bullet, with his recently released level limit break that debuted around the same time that the Super Sugofest exclusive Redhead Shanks debuted. And this guy received some pretty awesome buffs that makes him a way more usable in a lot more content. Just want to give a huge shout out first of all to Subconsci, who is the original creator of this team, up against the Alvida Grand Voyage level 5 with double bullet at level 150. So if you guys are looking for another team for Alvida, this team is exceptional and doesn't really require a lot of, manual taps. It's very, very straightforward, except for the last stage. Gonna do a little bit of manual taps in order to get around the resilience, right? But overall, this guy is pretty incredible, and the buffs that he received make him way more usable, and he synergizes well with a lot of other really good units. He's a fighter-driven character, so specifically driven, he can hybrid well with a lot of those types of units, like versus Akainu, for example, and other driven-focused characters. But the fact that he is focused on boosting strength, quick, and int is a huge benefit, because we have lots of really good strength, quick, and int characters, and that's a thing that even before the level limit break, Bullet was still somewhat usable in a sense, just due to the captain ability allowing him to be super effective against all types. And the thing is that effect is so broken that since the point of his release, they still haven't released an additional special or an additional captain ability that makes a character super effective against all types all the time. Bullet is the only character in the game that has that, and I feel like if they are going to reintroduce that mechanic, it will probably be in a Super Sugofest exclusive character, probably like a final tap maybe, where the final tap makes the character super effective against all types. Like, it's such a busted ability, just being super effective against any content whatsoever, and I think that if they do implement it in the future, probably going to be a relatively exclusive character. But let's actually start talking about the nitty-gritty, what each component of this character actually does. So luckily, Bullet with his Limit Break expansion does not receive a buffed captain ability, so at least that you don't have to invest a lot of materials to get this guy to the best possible place. You just need all of those duplicates, of course, through the level limit break. Through his level limit break, his captain ability will now become a -1 cooldown at the start of the quest, providing a 4.75 times attack and a 1.4 times health boost to strength, quick, and int characters. So the multiplier 4.75 is still relatively acceptable in terms of everything in today's day and age, and a 1.4 health boost is nothing to scoff at, and then also boosts his own attack by 5 times. So he gives himself a little bit of a higher boost, which is, no real surprise, because that's exactly what he did prior to his level limit break. He also makes strength, quick, and int slots beneficial to strength, quick, and int characters, and you can partner this up with like the whale shark ship to make tandem slots beneficial to the crew as well, so you can get heaps of natural slots on your crew, which is exceptional. So that's a really, really nice effect. And then of course the little sentence at the end which says that it makes characters' normal attacks effective against all enemy types. And that is obviously the most key component of this character, and why this character is so good, that it doesn't matter what content you're going up against, it doesn't matter what color the enemy is, this character is going to be abusing the fact that they can be super effective against them, which ultimately means that color affinity based specials are actually very useful under Douglas Bullet, because he can always abuse it, which is one of the best things about it. So long as Bullet receives the color affinity, either it being a rainbow affinity, strength, fighter driven color affinity, he can abuse that being super effective, which is wicked. So through the level limit break, they actually didn't change too much. Obviously, they made the multipliers much higher, where previously it was a 4 times boost to the colors and then a 4.75 to himself. So they've made it so that the 4.75 instead is for all characters, and he only provides a 5 times boost, which, in my opinion, I do believe that the 5 times boost to himself should have definitely been higher. I mean, upwards of probably 5.25 or even 5.5, to be perfectly honest. I think it kind of deserves himself to hit extremely hard, all things considered, but realistically it's not that big of a deal. And obviously the -1 cooldown at the start of the quest through his captain ability was also not present before, So they didn't really change that much, they just made him a stronger unit and a more viable unit. And that's the thing, is this character's captain ability was like the best component of the unit. The special ability was kind of just an extra layer added on top of it. But speaking of that special ability, let's go ahead and start breaking that one down, because they have made this character an amazing sub, as well as a very usable captain with that special too. They've just added a lot to it. So first of which, it's a 15 turn cooldown naturally. I believe he does receive a little bit of cooldown through his limit break expansion. But what the effect does is that it reduces the duration of all enemies' damage nullification and enemy barriers by 2 turns. 2 turns. And then also will provide a 25% health cut to all enemies that goes through all defensive effects. And then he has the added effect of, being typically dealing 2 times damage dealt from normal attacks by himself in non-type damage to all enemies. So when you use it, obviously hits super effective against all types. He does a lot of damage with his normal attacks. However much damage he does with his normal attack, multiply it by 2, and that's the amount of damage you can do at the end of the turn. But then this is where things get a little crazy, because we have seen characters of old, characters like V2 Katakuri, and I think there was another one prior to the fact, like V2 Doflamingo with his Super Evolution. Characters that had damage-based specials, where they become essentially useless through normal attacks only debuff being a thing. So what they've done now is that they've added an additional ability, which says that if your crew has normal attacks only when you launch the special, you get a 2.5 times attack boost to strength, quick, and int characters for 1 turn, and he gives himself a 1000 base attack boost for 1 turn. So that's also a very nice addition to this unit, where he kind of reduces redundancy in the fact that if you are inflicted with that really annoying pesky debuff, which essentially makes the whole theming of this character pointless, of making him hit really hard so that his special can also inflict lots of damage to the opposing side, you just made it now where you can just get an attack boost off of it, and a 2.5 times attack boost at that is relatively acceptable in today's day and age. So I think that that's great, and you gotta remember, you can still use him as a crewmate too, for a couple of different reasons. Well, now he can reduce 2 turns of barriers and damage nullification, which is absurd, because those 2 debuffs, or those buffs on the enemy side of the field, you don't see them being removed that often. There's not too many specials that are actually good that remove barriers or damage nullification, let alone both of them in one special launch, which is ridiculous. And then also being a damage dealing special, which means mainly you can abuse V1 Akainu attached to him, because you can get a full board of strength slots, and as a captain he treats them as beneficial to the crew, so that's ridiculously good. You could go ahead and have Odin on your team to make strength slots into Wano, which is also really cool. But the fact that you can also get the ability to go through resilience, because he does the end of turn damage all the time, no matter what. Even if there is normal attacks only, he still at least does 1 damage at the end of the turn, so you can use it to get around resilience, which is good. And then even if you're inflicted with the normal attacks only, you can get an attack boost out of it. You can make it so that he gets a 1000 base attack boost as well, so Bullet himself will hit harder. And even if you're not inflicted with normal attacks only, well then his special is just going to hit extremely hard, either way you look at it, which is awesome. So all in all, the buffs that they've given to Bullet have actually been pretty exceptional, but of course, it comes down to the fact that these older characters that are receiving these buffs through their level limit break and eventual super evolutions, they have the added issue of not being able to access super typing or super classes or anything like that. So that is a pretty big drawback, because that's essentially losing an additional special that you can launch throughout the quest. And I know it's a little hard to kind of just add, super typing or super class to a unit through a super evolution or through buffs like that. But that would be pretty cool if characters like that would receive buffs. But it just means that these characters probably won't see as much play as more commonly or more recently released characters with those super types and super classes, super switches even. Hopefully we will actually receive buffs for dual units in the near future. But it's just the way that things go, that these characters will not have that additional effect, which is a pretty big drawback. But all in all, this is the type of character that probably will see a lot of play still, just due to the usefulness of that captain ability. Super effective against all types, as we said at the start of the video, is an incredibly busted ability. Being able to hit super effective all the time, it essentially gives you free 2 times damage whenever you need it, which is great. And also, as we said earlier, color affinity is one of the most useful debuffs under Bullet, because he can just go ahead and abuse the fact that he is super effective against all types, which is great. But the fact that he does have that really unique effect means that this character probably will see a lot more play. And as we said as well, he actually has really good hybrid functionalities with a lot of units. Not only does he hybrid well with class-based teams, but also any color-based teams as well. I mean, a lot of characters that do release will still boost, you know, a color in classes or a combination of those, and you can still go ahead and use Bullet alongside some of those really cool units too. And he gets to abuse those characters' special abilities and any new batch characters that come out too. This character is going to be very, very good moving forward, and just with all of these added effects, especially through the special, removing the damage nullification and enemy barriers, and you guys would have seen through the Alvita Grand Voyage clip, that's the reason why this character is so good for that. Being able to remove the barriers, not having to worry about it, and just being able to do the normal attacks as per usual is just ridiculously good. But all in all, that is going to wrap it up from me. Thank you so much for watching, and if you guys enjoyed the clip, make sure to go ahead and leave a like, and if you want to stay up to date with all of the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But other than that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.